Welcome to Loving Me Before I Love You with Tammy Nicole, the podcast dedicated to you loving and putting yourself first. Others have come first in your life for years, and you know it's time for that to change. You're about to be empowered to set healthy boundaries, confidently have hard conversations, unapologetically put yourself first, and live the peaceful life you deserve. Remember, self-love is essential, and loving yourself sets the stage for every other love in your life. So get ready to embrace self-love like never before with your host, Coach Tammy Nicole.
Hey, welcome back to Loving Me Before I Love You. It is Transformation Tuesday, and guess what? We have made it to September. Oh my goodness, the year is going by so fast. So this month, guys, we're talking about friendships, all things related to friends, be it challenges, longevity, the funs, the ups, the downs, the all arounds. And I actually have a special guest today. I have a friend that I've been friends with since, I think we're about 7, 8 years old. That's a long time because I'm not going to tell how old I am, but I'm just going to say that's definitely over 20, 30 years. I will say that. And I'm super excited that she's joining me. I have my friend Tiffany, and we're going to talk about some things today. Our subject or title for today's episode is Weathering the Storm, Strategies for Overcoming Challenging Friendships. And she's the best person I can get to answer these questions. Welcome to the show, Tiff.
Thank you, Tam. I'm so excited to be here. I do consider myself a professional friend, so I think that this will be a great conversation.
Yes. So it's funny, professional friendship, being a professional friend, when you actually hear that phrase, I think somebody will probably be like, what does that mean? You're like just great at being a friend? Or does that mean all you do is have friends? Like, what could that really mean? But I love the phrase because being a professional friend is important these days. And I say that from the standpoint of some of us don't know how to be a friend.
Absolutely.
In general, like I don't know what it is. Like we throw the word around very frequently and loosely.
So loosely. I take it very seriously.
There you go. That's what the definition for you means, right? That you're taking it very seriously.
Very seriously.
Tell us about
it. I don't just call anybody my friend. In fact, someone said to me, and I always think about this now, someone said to me, like, you only have best friends. Like, that's how serious you are about your friendship. People are always like, you know a lot of people. What are you talking about? You don't have that many friends. I said, no, I know a lot of people, but I don't have that many friends because when I'm your friend 100%. And that means through good times, through bad times, through whatever. That's why I feel like I'm able to have friends for so long. And even when a friendship ends, I always am still just so grateful for the experiences that I have with that person because I know that at one point we both showed up for each other 100%. So friendship is like, it's something that helps me get through life because, like you have your family, you have people that you work with, you have people that you know, but like sometimes a friend is a person that could change your whole outlook on something. Or a friend is a person that could just sit with you in silence while you're going through something. Or a friend is a person that could be petty with you when you need to be petty to just get it out. So that's why I love friendship, and I'm excited to talk about that.
Yeah, I think everything that you said is absolute, right? I think that we don't define friendship a lot. I think, I've gone through several different friends myself. Sometimes we have friendships that we're like, this is lifelong.
Yep.
Later on in the month, we're going to talk about like seasonal friends and their purpose and why they exist. A lot of times people don't understand that friendships can be seasonal. They
Yeah.
could just simply be here for when the storm you're in, you know what I mean? Or here for when this celebratory season that you're in. But just simply being to identify or define the word friend, how would you define it?
Oh, wow. I would define a friend as someone in your life that you value, that you respect, that you can be your whole self with without fear of judgment, someone that is honest with you and you can be honest with them, and someone that you can do life with, whether that's lifelong or, to your point, is seasonal, but you are doing life with this person. Like, you know that they have your back and you have theirs. And I think that's like so deep, but I think that's why I take friendship so seriously, because that's my definition of friendship. It doesn't have to be frequent. Like, I don't have to talk to you every day. There's not like any parameters on it. It's just, you know, and I know we got each other no matter what.
Absolutely. So I can look at this from like two different ways. I can go the biblical way and say, you know, how the Bible talks about in order to know a friend or have a friend, you got to be a friend.
Yeah.
And, you know, call yourself friendly. The definition in the dictionary says that it's a person with whom you know that you have a bond with that has a level of affection. It's mutual affection that is exclusive to being a family member or a spouse. So when I think of the definition of a friend, I agree with you wholeheartedly that they have to be someone who you can have a mutual exchange with, that you give your whole self to, right? I think that the issue comes up when we don't know who the hell we are.
Absolutely.
And we are just moving from a state of idealness and not from the state of authenticity.
Absolutely.
So like, we think or hear friends or somebody that I can just go hang out with, go do drinks, go do dinner, go, you know, on trips, go do, you know, whatever, like just have an exchange of activity, right? But for me, the friend is the one that I can call on no matter what the hell going on in my life, share what the heck is going on with my life, and that they would listen and maybe just listen or listen and provide some level of guidance. But that they're willing to sit in the mess with me. And then they're also willing to celebrate my success. Like if I, you know, whatever I'm doing, right? So when we talk about navigating the storms and like learning how to overcome challenges in friendships, I think you can't even talk about it until you talk about what challenges actually arise.
Absolutely.
So what do you think are the common challenges that pop, and why do they pop up?
I think like there's so many challenges in friendships because it's just another relationship. I think that people often say, well, if it's going to be this hard, I don't want to be your friend. And it's like, well, anything in life can present challenges. So why is friendship different? And if you feel like someone is important, you should be willing to work through those things. So I think just a common one off top, like when you're an adult, is time. Like, people have lives, people have so much going on, and people feel like if you don't spend the time that they want you to spend, then you're not really their friend. And I always have try to take a step back in that, because I have a different amount of time than, say, one of my best friends that is married with a child. She has a job and she runs a business. So she doesn't have the same amount of time that I have to go to drinks or to go on trips or to do those things. But none of that matters, because I know that she shows up when she needs to show up. So I have other friends that have the same amount of time as me, and we can do all those things. But that doesn't make one friend better than the other. But I think some people are like, well, you don't show up when I invite you to drinks, and you don't show up when I'm having a birthday party, and you don't show up to those things. And I understand that for some people, that could be indicative of not being a great friend. But you have to use discernment in, is this person doing life and they didn't show up for me? Or is this person truly not showing up for me? So I think that is a common one that I see within my friendships and just talking to other people. People measure things via showing up in time.
I agree with that. I measure things a lot about communication sometimes.
Uh-huh.
I think that you mentioned adult friendships, because that's, it's definitely different than when we were, in high school
Absolutely.
and or college.
Especially college, because you like live with your friends. Like you're always with them.
24/7. But I think that when you were younger, because you didn't have responsibility, it just didn't seem as difficult. I do think that still communication was key. Like, how often are you talking? What type of things are you talking about in general? Like, sometimes we can have people, because I think that there are levels to friendships. And so, like, I may talk about my deepest insecurity with one friend, but I may only talk about, like, I'm afraid of heights with somebody else. You know what I mean? Like, something that I don't, and what we talk about depends on what we value.
Absolutely.
Right. So where I may tell my deepest insecurity to somebody, that value that I put on that deep insecurity determines which person I'm telling it to. Right. But I think that when we become adults, we don't have deep conversations with our friends to give boundaries and parameters to what this friendship looks like, which is why I think they dismantle. And when we talk about like like how do we overcome it? To me, you only can overcome certain things through conversation.
Absolutely.
I mean, like,
but what I will say is, it is definitely through conversation, but both people have to be willing to have an honest conversation about what even went wrong. And what I have been finding just through observation and through my own personal experience is that people just want to come back together for the good parts, and they don't want to acknowledge what even happened to like separate them in the first place. Like they want to gloss over it.
I agree with that. Matter of fact, if I think about my relationship with Evelyn, we have fallen out more than one time. And every time when we come back, we don't talk about the why.
Yeah.
And I think that it's a conversation to be had. We've never had it, to be honest.
Really?
Never. Like, it's just like you just literally almost like pick up where the pieces left off in a way. Because you do remember the good times, and then like you start rekindling, and then it's like, oh, okay, yep, this is where everything was good. And then 9 times out of 10, that thing that had you not talking the first time, it comes back up because it wasn't addressed, right? Yep. And we're still living life, and we're still living the same type of life. So it's bound to return.
Yeah, that definitely has happened to me with someone that I was super close with. We had a falling out in 2013, and we did not speak for like 3 years. And then we started speaking again, and it was just like it was before. Like, I truly love this person. And then 2 years ago, same thing happened. And We do not speak now. Now I am, even though I am a professional friend, I'm also a little bit harsh. So when I don't speak to you, like I don't speak to you. It's very all or nothing with me. Like I still love you, but I can't act like you're not there. Which is not good, and that's something that I'm working on. And even with this person, I had to see them recently, and normally, like, I would pay them dust. But at this time, like in my life, because I'm growing and I'm a different person, I was able to be cordial with them and to be kind. But we will not be friends again unless there's a conversation. And I think that people just want to gloss over that because it requires both people to take a look at what caused the fallout in the first place. And people don't want to take accountability sometimes.
They don't want to be vulnerable. But I think the other part of that, though, is sometimes you and I'm trying to articulate this in a way of understanding the both parties involved, right? Like, I'll use me and Evelyn for an example. I may think the reason we broke, or I don't even call it broke up, or the reason we stopped talking is one thing, right?
But future breakups are real. Like people be devastated. So
yeah. But I would say my reason is my reason, right? And her reason is her reason.
Yep.
But because the reason has never been articulated, both parties have the assumption that the other party understands from their perspective. Right. And that is 100% false, right? Because 9 times out of 10, if anybody is speaking to their other sets of friends or anybody else that they know about the circumstance, so if you were to be like, oh, where's Evelyn? How's Evelyn? And I'm like, oh, I don't know. Then it's like, oh, well, what happened?
Right.
My answer is going to be, I don't know.
Absolutely.
Right.
You know that I have a situation like that.
Right. I'm going to say, I don't know. Right. And then you may say, well, what led up to the non-talking? I'm going to tell you the story from my perspective. It does not mean that that's what I consider to be the absolute truth, right? It just means it's my truth. It's my experience. It's what happened from my perspective because there was no level of conversation. Right. It was simply, we not talking. Like, and you know that you're not talking based upon how or the frequency of your communication that transpired. You know what I mean? Like, oh, it just dismantled. It just left. And then you can say, well, did you reach out? And it's like, probably not. When you can feel energy is real.
So real.
Energy is transferred, not dismantled. It doesn't go anywhere. Like you just transfer the energy into different spaces of your life. And so when you feel the energy is off, you just move accordingly.
Absolutely. I am big on that. Call me Tiana Taylor. Keep the same energy because once I feel like the energy is different, I'm going to try. I'm not just, if I value you, I'm going to try. But there's only so much that I can do when you're showing me like, no. And I think like a lot of times people are like, well, I shouldn't have to explain to you why something is the way it is. And it's like, well, people are not mind readers. What do you mean you shouldn't have to explain? Like if you actually care, then you should be willing to have that conversation. But I think there is very much the mindset in today's society, like, I don't have to explain myself. I'm protecting my peace, which everybody should do. But you can't honestly say that you were being a friend, in my opinion, if you can't even have a conversation about something before you decide to protect your peace, however that looks.
Right. I'm thinking back. I want to say it's been a few months now watching Love and Marriage Huntsville.
Huntsville, Lord.
And Melanie and Kiki was having a conversation, and Melanie
I
canceled.
just saw that clip. I haven't watched the show, but I just saw that clip.
She canceled their friendship, right? And the way she canceled their friendship to me was an epitome of how you're supposed to leave a friendship. You have the conversation. It's difficult. You stand on what you stand on and what you believe, but you make
Absolutely.
the conversation happen
Yeah.
because sometimes things are transpiring not just because the other person just wants to be that way or just wants to do it. They don't really know it's affecting you. And
Yep.
because they don't know it's affecting you, they keep doing it. It doesn't mean they just have this vendetta against you or they're just doing it to hurt your feelings or X, Y, and Z. We are in relationships with other people. You are to grow and get to know the person. However, if you don't share who you are for real,
Yeah.
then they don't know.
Wow, today's episode is a good one. I know you're enjoying it, and we'll get back to it shortly. Just wanted to take a quick break to let you know that Tammy would love for you to share any questions, comments, or topic ideas you have with her. All you have to do is send them to her in an email to podcast@IamTammyNicole.com. Thank you, and without further ado, let's get back into today's show.
And to say that someone should know or just be aware of this is what it is and they shouldn't have to explain themselves to me is no. You do have to explain yourself
Absolutely.
because I don't know. And if I was really your friend, why would I intentionally try to hurt you? Why would that and why would you feel like that's my intention?
I think that a lot of people are projecting on other people, and
Mm.
they feel like because they cannot share, they're like, oh, well, I don't want to share this because for whatever reason. And some reasons are very valid, and some are other things that they need to work through. But because they have this reason, they're like, oh, I can't share, so they should just know. And if they don't know, they don't care about me. So that's why it's so easy to be like, they're doing something to intentionally hurt me. And I think that based upon where you are in life, you do need different kinds of friends. And I can be honest and say that I may not be the friend for some people, depending on where they are in life,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm going to be me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to tell you the truth. If you ask me a question, I'm not going to offer up any information because it's not my place to put myself on you. But if you say something to me, if you ask me, I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm not going to shy away from that because I believe when we are friends, we should be able to communicate with each other without fear. But a lot of people aren't ready for that either. So I think that when people are ending things, or even when people are upset about things, they don't know how to say it to people. And
Absolutely.
it's easier to just be like, cut it off than to have the conversation.
Avoid.
Avoid. I feel like I've not always done it, but I know that when I truly care about somebody, I call and I have a conversation. And it gets tiring always being the person that's like, hey, this is what happened. Let's talk about it. Because it's like, we're both in this and you are fine to just sweep it under the rug. Like, why don't you care about what has happened?
Right.
So it's a lot of push and pull and like ebbs and flows to it.
Mm-hmm.
But to your point, there definitely should be a conversation, and that is the proper way to end anything. Even when you get fired at your job,
They talk to you about
there's
it.
a conversation. So, like, if these people who honestly don't really care about you, like you're just a number, an employee, and a paycheck, like if they can have a conversation, people you're in relationship with should definitely be able to have a conversation with you.
Facts. But I think on this show, I always seem to take everything back to childhood, and how we're raised, and
Absolutely.
it just seems to always like
It plays
connect.
a major role in your life.
When we don't, when we're not taught how to have authentic, real conversations that can possibly be like hurtful, for whatever reason. And when I say hurtful, I mean like you just don't like what's coming out somebody's mouth. A lot of times it is a reflection of who you are and how you show up, but a lot of times we have a different view of ourselves. We don't
Yeah.
really see how we show up in some things or how we're affecting other people. And to be honest, that comes because we don't know who we are.
Yeah.
I'm like really big on trying to, even for myself, as well as I teach others, you have to know who you are and you have to know how much space you require. When you show
Yes.
up in a room, how much space do you require in this? And if you don't fit, you don't fit. Move the heck on. Move
On.
out.
Yes.
Do something else. But know what you require and know who you are. And because we don't have those level of conversations and being able to express ourselves no matter what, I talk to my kids all the time. And it's like, I feel like that's where it starts, right? It starts as a kid, growing up, learning how to be an adult. I think if parents took the mindset of, I am teaching you how to be an adult,
Ooh.
as their parenting model, and
See,
not
that is
just
a
do.
word. That is a word. That is a word. That's bars right there.
I'm
Like,
just saying, like that needs to be the motto, because I think a lot of times we're just so, as parents, built on just do what I say and go to school and follow these rules, etc. We don't tell the kids why. We don't teach them how to express themselves. We don't,
it's like real
it,
surface level.
you don't get deep. You don't know who they are. You don't, none of that. And I just think that as much as we don't want, and it goes back to parenting, it's so crazy. You always hear, I'm not your friend, I'm your mama.
Absolutely.
But how do you teach them how to be a friend if you're not their friend?
Absolutely.
They're like, because there's different levels of friendships. Like, I do want to be your friend because I need you to have a level of confidence in me, a level of trust in me, to provide all your deepest secrets, to give me, who you are. When you don't have that level of exchange and all they do is tell those things to people on the outside who sometimes mean no good for them whatsoever,
None.
what are you setting them up for? And so, again, that's where I just think it derives from. We don't know how to have those conversations. We want them,
Mm-hmm.
right? But my thing is, everything is a word, guys. It's a word. We grew up saying sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. That's a lie.
Absolutely. That is a lie. People be out here, word. One of my favorite things, and I've used it everywhere. One of my favorite things is words mean things. And like what you say, like it really matters. People are like, oh, it doesn't matter. No, it really matters.
Yeah.
Like,
God
so
told you you
be
can create everything
intentional.
with words.
Hello? Hello. Be intentional with what you're saying. A lot of people don't even think before they speak, but that's a whole nother conversation.
It's right for this whole conversation. I don't know. Like, I think if we can become comfortable in our own skin
Yes.
to say what we want to say and say it with tact and dignity and
Yeah.
grace,
And
that
empathy.
you can say whatever. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to be rude about it. You just have to be authentic. Like, this is where I'm at. This is what I feel. And when you don't understand what someone says, ask for clarification. Don't
Oh,
assume that they meant this and
yeah.
run with it and develop an attitude behind it. And
Yeah.
then, oh, I ain't talking to her or I ain't talking to him. I mean, we got relationships with guys that are just friends too. So it
Yeah.
just, and those relationships are different. I'm just going to be
They
100%
definitely are.
because
They
Men just
definitely
don't think like us
at
women.
all.
But
Do not.
I mean, sometimes they get in their feminine energy and be acting crazy too. But I'm just
Absolutely. I have to check a couple. Yeah, absolutely.
so
Absolutely.
we're not going to exclude them in totality. But when you're talking about overcoming the challenges in friendship, to me, my number one tip is communication.
I agree wholeheartedly. Because that's the only way you'll ever have any understanding.
Hey, I know you're enjoying today's episode, and we hate to cut it short, but it's not over yet. There's so much more we're going to explore in the next episode. So be sure to join us next week for the final part. And if you haven't already, remember, you can connect with Tammy Nicole on all social media platforms at Coach Tammy Nicole. Until next episode, continue loving yourself so much that the love from others is a bonus.